Hi everyone. I'm Siddharth from National Foundation, and today we have uh, Nanjunda sir. And the workshop is regarding go-to-market strategy. We're gonna learn, proper framework and how to reach out to target customers and drive business growth. Sir, thank you so much, and over to you.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. Thank you, Siddharth. So, I assume we are the same number of people or same people who were in the previous on uh, what word? Business model canvas. So, in fact, some of the things we broadly covered on the business model canvas actually are component of a go-to-market strategy. So, so I've tried few scenarios, B2B, B2C, generic stuff, and we'll try to discuss some specific cases as well. Also tried to uh, a GTM strategy for Web3 as well, or for a tokenized thing. So perhaps some of you may be into it, or hopefully will get into it. So I'll just get started. Well, this generic definition, right? So what we are trying to achieve today is to uh, arrive at a model or a strategy that best suits our offering, whether it's a product or a service or a solution. And towards that, how do we build on that? So now you must be familiar with how I would approach it. So just go through it. In fact, the components were briefly discussed in the business model canvas as well. They are the things which actually contributes to the go-to-market strategy. So given that, I don't want to elaborate on it unless specifically you have some question on this, and I would go about it. So would you have any questions on any of this point in time? Yes, no? Oh, sorry. So do I move forward? I assume that you don't have a question because we actually discussed broadly on these things in the business model canvas. But is there something that you want me to dive deeper in this? I'd be happy to do that. If not, we move forward and perhaps spend time where it will be more relevant. If you can't speak, you could even send in a chat.
Sorry to say in sir, but can you help me understand what is exactly the value proposition and distribution challenge that I need to take care of? Because if suppose I am scaling my product from 0 to 1 and I need to find my go-to-market strategy. So how is that gonna be, directly dependent upon the structure of my product?
Well, see, first of all, you have a product and you uh, got started either with your assumption or observation that this is a need, right? This is a need that you have, and or rather the market has, and if you solve that problem, they are likely to pay for it. So that is where things start, right? Either you have an observation or you have an assumption, and then you try to back it up with some amount of exercise in terms of well, it could be a problem for many, but who among them would be willing to pay for it? So when you narrow it down to who among them, right? If there are 100 people and there'd be 10 who would fit into the segment of that, who will be willing to pay for it because their problem is more than others. And two, they are able to afford to pay for it, while others may not be able to afford to pay for it. And three, it could be their bigger need, or like what we talked about as preference, which is far more demanding. So based on that, you categorize the broad spectrum of customer into a narrow stream that meets your target audience. So that's how you arrive at the customer segmentation. So if you're planning your go-to-market strategy, it's very important that who fits into what. And once you have segment, what is it that you're proposing, and why would I mean, you have some assumption that, okay, this is how your product solves their problem. And you need to map it with your target customer who you think will pay for it, will regard the same value that you think you're delivering to them, and if possible, even more than what you think, but not. So that is how you need to be able to arrive at defining that value proposition, that where they regard whatever the money that you may be charging for is less than the value they will be getting out of it. So that is a best case proposition, right? I mean, you walk into a biggest brand store, and even after sale or discount, it is still the most premium product in that segment across, but you're still willing to pay for it because your perceived value of that is much higher, right? And to top it, you've also got it on a discount. But that perception of that value is what that is already communicated by that brand to you. So that is how you need to figure what is that value you're able to align to from a customer's perception. That is your targeted customer that you've already done a segmentation exercise like we spoke previously. So that is why these two components are very key components for the GTM strategy. And that is where you also do market analysis to get to these things, understand the perceptions, target a broad spectrum of customers, and then arrive at your specific target segment. And then you define how else you'll be reaching. Where I think you also asked for distribution channel. So how do you reach them effectively? How do you make or fulfill the customer need from your offering, right? How does that value gets delivered to them? How does that value gets realized for your customer? So that is the distribution channel. So how do you communicate to them? How do you reach them? How do you deliver? And how do they experience it? So the whole cycle needs to be mapped out before you actually get into action. So that is what we need to achieve with the GTM strategy. And yes, you achieve that through the marketing and sales exercise. And for that, again, what kind of campaign, what reaches best, and how, and also aligning to the budget you have, if you have, and and if there are different aspects that influences, how do you reach each of those influences, in which media, which way, and how do you call for action at what point in time and when, right? How early should you be announcing it? How do you build that, or what stage of it? So typically whatever we are talking today, it's at an early stage, the brand is not known before it becomes the. So how do we get that mind share? So a lot of these go into the marketing aspects. And then closure, because no matter how much of opening the doors you do, unless you close it, conclude the transaction, uh, the every other effort is wasted. So you need to take it through to the last mile of getting that money into your account and your product or service, and they in turn identifying with that value proposition that uh, was subtly communicated or openly communicated through any campaign, that this is the value you're going to get. And the customer should be able to come back and say that, you know what, this is great. And it's also then, part of the strategy should also be into extending that early customers to become the voices for you, and you build on that, because many of the GTM strategy has to be focused at one, getting that first set of early customers, early adopters, and building on top of their proposition, as in make them your mouthpiece, right? They should be able to go out and say that, you know what, I use this product and this is amazing, and you should also try. And obviously, if they are a customer saying, it has 10 times more value. Uh, Unlike you pay an influencer to do it. But of course, influencer may reach that message out to far more people. But people know that she's saying it because she's got paid to do that. Whereas this guy is saying it because he actually paid for it. Right? So that makes a lot of difference. And then you have to create a multitude of such things. So all these things, of course, we always talk about having a plan and having a strategy, but what also is necessary is that how do you keep measuring it at every stage. So as we go forward, we can look at each of it. So we briefly talked about it. Identify your target industry, sector, vertical. In fact, some of these things we also talked about it during the BMC as well. So we also talked about competitive landscape. See, more and more today, some businesses are competitors to us, but at the same time, ways we need to be able to figure out how do we collaborate with them. So you cannot have a single lens to approaching these things with. So this is what I was talking to you with reference to the business model canvas. So that is what you need to keep in mind, that you don't put competition into a single box. See, today there are many ways you can look at. Even a Google and Microsoft compete with each other, but they are customers of each other as well. So this is where they also need to collaborate, because they also reach and deliver to each other's customers. So they ride over each other's ecosystem. So Microsoft also has to allow Google to reach out to Microsoft customers and also compete with Google, and likewise Google, right? So this is what has evolved in the last 25 years, where there is a competition and there is also collaboration, and you can't do away with that. That's the reality we live in. So also in the same breath, what happens is that obviously many of them don't go looking into sabotaging openly, because if their name comes out, then there can be serious legal implications. But there are competitions in the process of, they also tend to sabotage it. In fact, many of these large companies like Google, it's sorry, somebody saying something?
Well,
Sorry?
I think someone's left an unmute. Please continue.
Continue? Okay. So I was just telling you, yeah, see, there are many ways large companies behave here, right? One is that they keep a active view to what's happening among the early stage companies, and they tend to acquire, so that they are able to, if they see a big threat coming out of the team, it's better to acquire them young. So uh, so money is not the criteria, because these guys are sitting with so much of money. So they end up acquiring a lot of technology companies very early. So it is one sense of sabotage, but at least the founder walks away with money. See, then there are other things where sorry. So there are other companies who come in the come into play with willing to collaborate. They would like to look at things, and then they take away and look at the IP, try to manipulate it, and see if at all they can block you in some fashion or get you to fail. So these things also happen. So it's not a fair world, right? It's the real world. So while there are compliances to protect one's interest, when you're a small company, it's very difficult for you to protect your legal rights because some of the contracts could be you've signed it with a company which is much larger, and they're also located elsewhere, and you'd be excited about signing an agreement with them or an MOU with them. And one small point will be there where it'll say that any legal arbitration will be done in X city, which will be they are based of either in India or outside. And when you are small, that cost can be huge for you to pursue legally. So you have to pay attention whenever you get into or indulge in any collaborations, because that is one aspect where uh, you really find so much of threat, so much of challenges. So I've met a lot of startup founders. They've gone through, in fact, company ran for 2 years and legal cases ran for 3 years, and this guy is ended up taking the job, lost all the money. So it's crazy. There are so many stories, and every time you hear any entrepreneurial story, they only talk about they made 1 billion, right? It's like those fairy tales where in the end the boy and the girl met and happily ever after. But 99 of the 100 startup stories have so many challenges where uh, they get sabotaged in multiple ways. There are times where buyer promises to pay, you share all the details, and then they keep paying you some small money, and then they understand the whole thing, and they realize the IP you filed can be worked around, so they don't really need your IP. They understand the approach, and then they walk out putting a claim that you have actually taken so much money. They're backing out of it, and you have to in turn pay them, while they have already got all the understanding from you itself. So, there are so many things. So, uh, maybe in this analysis part, I don't know if is the right place to talk about it, but since I have spoken about other things, I thought maybe I should give you this aspect that it's not all hunky dory. There are a lot of challenges. And what is important is that with all this complexity, you need to stay focused that there is a value that you create for somebody. And how do you go about it while you still protect yourself and continue to do it? So you've got to stay focused at it and also not lose focus on what else is happening around. So technically, the choice of uh, you choose to be an entrepreneur is you choose to be a superhuman because you need to guard yourself. So that is where a lot of people team up. That is where co-founders make so much of a difference. And of course, it's not part of not in the context of GTM, but you need to have right co-founders who do things that you can't do as good, right? So that is where you're able to fortify your organization or get the right set of people who will guide you, advise you, stop you in making mistakes or making repeated mistakes, because that's another thing. We all get into a kind of a loop. And believe me when I say this, that most people don't realize that we are in a loop. it's like this, right? I mean, uh, you you have a bad friend, right? You get into a bad relationship, you come out of it, you find a very similar person again, and you get into one more relationship which will be bad, and again you come out of it, and again you get into one more relationship. That is the loop, and most times we don't realize it. And particularly as founders and entrepreneurs, these things become very expensive because each of those things are so draining, right? Financially, emotionally, and time, competition. There are so many other complexities. And then you have to deal with uh, uh, obviously the government and government agencies, which unfortunately in here, uh, though things are changing for good, but by and large, it is still that if you're a founder or entrepreneur, there is more stress on you being complying to some rule than you be able to do business, right? So compliance comes first before business. And that is another thing which takes away. In fact, so many entrepreneurs, so many good entrepreneurs, just when they actually need money to scale, break that glass ceiling, investor comes in, they look at it, their whole compliance is in such a mess. Majority of them actually lose out in securing an investor, which actually takes them to the other side of the river, if you will. So that is where you need to have the right team who will back you up and keep up with all the things that are essential in moving forward. So coming back, uh, while you look at the competition, just stressing again, competition, how do you look at collaborating with them? And while you also look at collaborating with them, how do you secure yourself, right? You need to protect yourself, you need to protect your IP. And another thing is, uh, some of these guys always do is uh, take your employee away, whoever who's good. In fact, I've even had a situation where somebody took my CTO out. So our product is ready. I set up a meeting with the investor and come back, and my CTO has already jumped the ship. So you end up having a lot of these kind of situations where you will have people who are insecure, a little bit of more money, they jump the ship. So you need to really find people who you can trust and where you are able to share a goal. And at times, you don't need to have common goals as well, right? You need a broad goal alignment. Up to what point in time can you go with them? So that is also good enough. But most important thing is you should know what you're getting into. You should know what kind of person that you're working with. There's something called co-founder alignment. I think that's another thing I've written and I've published, and I've given some steps how to approach it also. So you could look it up on, I think maybe LinkedIn or Medium. I think maybe LinkedIn. So you should look that up. So coming back to customer segmentation and criteria, we already talked about it, but what you need to do is that get a little more narrow. And how do you go about it? The next slide, we should be able to go a little more deeper, but industry, company, size, geography, location, their pattern. See, a lot of the data, you may not have it ready hand. So that is where I think somebody was talking about the business of building a product in the fish, right? I don't know if he's there today, but we were talking about it, that you need to go and get a first-hand experience and understanding of what really happens there in the market. And you need to be observing. And ideally, not just one day, sit through and look at it. Does the behavior change on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, again Sunday? Does it change? So even if you get started, you need to have a way to capture the data. Does it change in the month of the year? Does it change in the season? How does that work? So, some of these things, depending on the kind of product you're in, if it is indoor, if it is used outdoor, if it is used at home, if it is used in the office, if it is used for personal need, if it is used for professional requirements. So you need to map it out. What are the other aspects that has a bearing on it, that has a impact on on their decision making, one, to purchase, two, the way they use, and the way they get the value. See, if they don't realize the value the way you see it, it's very likely that they'll jump out to another supplier. So that is why you need to keep track of it and keep stitching up those gaps so that they stay with you. So yeah, and we already spent a lot of time on needs and preferences in the BMCE session, so I'll not go there. We had talked about it quite a bit on value proposition. So just read through. Do you have any questions, or you want to discuss that in any particular context? We can do that. So I'll move forward then. So yeah, just read through this, and you can get deeper if you don't understand something, or you need any explanation, or if you want anything, in a context. So on this, any explanation will be based on what you ask me to explain. So please participate. I know I'm looking at the monitor, I can't see any of your faces, but if you're participating, then I'd be coming out more. I mean, if you don't ask me questions, then it's difficult for me to keep up with what are you looking at, how do you understand it. Is everything clear to everybody? No questions in this? See, what I'd like to do in the open house, which would be next week, Tuesday, is that each of you could come up with a presentation on these things. How do you approach it? If you do a customer segmentation exercise. So I'm not suggesting that each of you do the same thing, but you can pick whichever you think is the area that you need help with to start. So do this exercise for your businesses, and then you can present. If you have any doubt, we can take that up. Not only this, the others as well. I mean, the value proposition, customer segmentation, channel, anything. Or as we go forward with the revenue model and business model as well. So do I move forward? No questions here? Hello? Just one of you give me a thumbs up, or I just move forward now.
Yes, sir, please continue.
Sorry?
Yes, sir, you can continue. Yeah, thumbs up.
Yeah. So these are the things, again, try to do it for your business. And in the open house, we can discuss specific to each of your challenges in terms of how do you arrive at customer preference in that particular segment that you're operating in the sector you're operating in, and the customer segment that you're looking at. And how do you uh, map out a decision-making process on the customer side. But first, I would like you to do it for your own businesses. So once you have identified your target customer and the segment that you want to target, then you start building it. See, you start articulating it. If you have a challenge, bring it up. So discuss your case. So we'll try to address it during the open house. But essentially, these are the things that you need to be looking at, right? What are the market dynamics? We already talked about competitive landscape. What are the emerging channels? So how do you use that? See, end of the day, uh, today uh, with pretty much everything happening digitally, you actually have an opportunity to get a closure, right? Drive a transaction across every platform, be it, on a social platform or on a professional platform, you can drive towards a closure to the transaction. So you can get a call to action done right there at that, through mobile or in a laptop. So you have to figure out uh, that you're able to get it to the right customer so that you're driving them for an action immediately at the time they're saying. So, so how do you pick, and is it necessary to pick that way? And what is that action that you want? Is it a transaction that you want? Is it a response you want? Is it there some kind of data that you want? So you need to figure out and break it down, map out scenarios. So that is where you will be able to effectively use uh, uh, each of the channels. A single channel, right? We are in a multimodal space, so you have to use different modes to uh, engage your customer as well as transact with them. So you should look at it as a multiple of no longer uh, one channel. It is multiple channel. Just read through it and we can. See, these are broad-based approach, right? You really need to figure out which are more relevant for you, which are something else that is not in it, and what could be best for you. So you really have to uh, map the best way. Yeah. No, SEO is just search engine optimization. It's essentially about discovery. Today what's happening is uh, you obviously still, this is a big Web 2.0 challenge, right? Where there are so many players, so much of content online, and how do I access, how do I even get to know, how do I discover that who, as a customer, how do I discover which is the right product, who gives me the good solution? And likewise, the challenge from a business side is that if I'm an entrepreneur, how do I be discoverable for my potential customers? Right. So that is where all those keywords and there are few tools that you use in terms of optimizing your website. But again, some people overdo it. You recently must be familiar with who's Lenskart. Lenskart got penalized because uh, they were they were keywords as Titan and some other brands. So anybody looks up for Titan and some other brands, Lenskart was popping up. So because they had used their competition names in the meta tag, and then they went to court, and Lenskart had to pay a big fine. You have to be smart, but don't try to be over smart. Don't try to take advantage of somebody today. See, there was a time it was a standard practice, right? Yeah, you would put meta tag of all your competitors so that you will be brought up in the search result and faster and all that. But today it is very easily traceable, all these things, and you get into trouble. So it is important that you use the tools effectively, and also don't try to be over smart in trying to ride over or sabotage your competition so blatantly that you get caught. Because if you do get caught, apart from a small money you may lose, but the reputation loss with your potential customer could be significant. See, today still Lenskart is sitting with huge money, and they manage the PR by trying to curtail the. I don't know how many of you had even heard about it. Any of you were aware of it, or you heard it for the first time from me? Any of you are familiar with this? Yeah. So, so, so they actually managed it, right? Time and again, these things happen, uh, and actually, one more thing, maybe. Uh, who's from NASCOM? Siddhartha, right? In this session. Is it Siddhartha? You're from NASCOM?
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay. So I know your program design is done, but lately I've been figuring out there are a lot of sabotage happening for biggest companies to smallest companies. So so maybe you could give a feedback. I'll also give feedback to some of your seniors that I am familiar with or I'm in connect with. But you could take this message that it may be worthwhile to have a session on how you can get sabotaged, and at least to start with, be aware of those scenarios. And how.
I think this is something that we can cover in the open house just on a brief level so that like everyone has an understanding
No,
about
that
like
I already
how
mentioned, right? I already started, I think in the first slide talking about it, but
you
the more I think of
like
it at each
it was
stage,
more on the side of yeah.
yeah, at each stage there are scenarios. So, so anyway, that I already did. I think I hope I've put a flag. I mean, people are kind of familiar to that now, but yeah, we need to. We can look at it a little more deeper, maybe sometime.
Sure, sir. I'll just raise the point.
So, anything other than SEO? See, today a lot of digital advertising has become a lot cheaper. You can actually make a lot of videos using AI tools, so that takes away a lot of your cost. But you got to remember that the similar opportunities are available for everybody else. So it's very important that how creative you get. And another thing which makes a lot of difference in particular in the digital advertising space is authenticity. So this is where no AI tool can do that, because if you are the founder and you come on the video and you tell your story, that's a great way to connect with your audience. But again, these things work best on the consumable side, right? It's a consumer driven product. You're talking to one on your customer and you're able to appeal to that particular segment. You'll connect with them, but may not work as well in the B2B or B2G cases. But if you're focused at a consumer side, any B2C kind of a thing, it really helps where uh, story becomes a great way to connect. So also, you know, today events are more driven to it's become a PR tool. Uh, I used to be invited for a lot of events to come as a speaker. So I stopped entertaining those things when things started going towards. They would call me and say that. I need to pay so much to be as a speaker. I'm like, why would I pay? And then they say that uh, uh, they've got all the speaker slot already, multiple people offering to pay and come as a speaker. They're giving me a huge discount because now every speaker they're getting is paying to be there. So you'll have to put that also into your marketing. And today you pay, you actually get an audience. But if you do use that model, you better be on top of what you're saying, because I've been on panels, I've been on multiple events where I've uh, I have people, I've sat with people who are founders. They are paid to be there on the dais to speak about it, to use that as a PR opportunity, right? To get obviously visibility for the brand and for themselves, which is good. But unfortunately, I see most of them don't come prepared for the talk. At least you need to be aware who's there with you, and how much do they know of the topic, and what should be, is that something core to your product, your service, your offering? And because you didn't get a slot in the something which is core to your side, just don't get in, as long as it is broadly within the same framework, because your opinions, if are not insightful, you'll be laughed at. So no matter how big you are, see, if you carry a big card, that goes to some distance if you're a very famous brand. But as a startup, early stage, you may not have got so much of brand story. See, I've seen a lot of people who are representing big brands, they bullshit their way through and they get away because of the brand. But the same thing will not happen to you because you're not yet a brand. So you really need to come prepared for that. If you go for an event like that, you be really prepared. You figure out, you get your opinions right, look up, you talk to people, get a perspective, develop your own perspective, see what can you leave on the table for them. See, because people pay 3, 4, 5, 7, 15,000 rupees to attend those events. And because you're sponsoring and you get an audience to be on the stage, just don't go without preparing, because it hurts your own brand then. Because everybody can see, right? Everybody listen, everybody see, and they clearly say that, okay, this guy is useless, right? And thereafter, even if you are going and sponsoring because you have the money to sponsor, event management guys will also still call you for your money, and they'll start putting you to some slots where they'll tell operator to slow down, you know, and they will engage you independently to allow you to talk, do your video and all that. On the panel, they will, if rest of the people are asked 5 questions, they'll only ask you two. So, a lot of these things happen. So very important you come prepared. Keep your sales force. Yeah, first of all, I think it's very important that you do a scenario of customer acquisition. So once you run through that, you start putting a process to it. It becomes easy for you to identify where could be the roadblock. And if you're clear, it becomes that much easier for you to train somebody else. And one most important thing, I think, I don't know if I mentioned it other day. Uh, see, lead qualification is, in fact, there are companies who offer to work for you. They say that they will bring you qualified lead for sales effort. I have not really used, but maybe they are good at it. Maybe they are able to do. But what's important for any business, I say, I try to employ that myself, is one is that it, the sooner you identify who's not your customer, you will spend less in customer acquisition cost. Am I able to get through to you? The sooner you understand or map who is not your customer, I'm not saying who is your customer, I'm saying who is not your customer, your cost of customer acquisition will come down once you identify this. Because the longer you take to identify who's not your customer, the higher is your spend towards your customer acquisition cost. Are you able to see the correlation? Anybody didn't understand? So you all understood? Okay, good. Good, you understand, but I really hope you start paying attention to it. Then you will be able to see a very different approach to it. So, of course, one side, earlier I was talking to you that it's very important you identify who's your customer, where do they come from, what are their influences, what drives them to buy, and all that. And now what I'm telling you is that the moment you are able to design or define and map out clearly who's not your customer, your spend on the customer acquisition will go down. So it's not a contradiction. It's not a contradiction, though it sounds like that, because it's very important. That is where your customer segmentation also becomes much more stronger if you employ this approach as well. And within that segment, see, end of the day, it's also people, right? Uh, See, I may fall into that bracket of your customer segment, but then there are behavioral aspects. So you may need to be spending 5 times meeting with me to get me as a customer. But there may be some set of people who will take only 2 times. So ideally, what you need to be doing is that put me who takes 5 meetings as a second priority customer target. You put those who take only 2 meetings to sign up as a customer as a first priority, so that your return on your or your spend on your customer acquisition gets better reward. That's what I mean to define who's not. So if I'm not at all your customer, then you're discovering after 10 meetings, then imagine 10 interactions. Imagine the time and effort lost in engaging me for so long. So that is what I mean by customer acquisition cost. And yeah, you use whole lot of tools, materials. See, today a lot of AI tools to get some most pointed things to do, but I see people don't use it effectively. They still come out with a lot of collaterals which are not really a collateral. Collateral is like an ammunition for you, right? That you need to give towards whatever the action you are seeking with that communication. So you need to be focused on that. And this is another area where you should take professional help if you are not tuned towards that. And customer relationships. See, one thing is that whether you may never be able to sell yourself or do a GTM strategy for the product that you're building. You're an entrepreneur. You need to get involved in customer relationship. It's not only for the sales effort, it's not only for the branding and marketing effort. It is equally important for your future product pipeline itself. So even if you are a technical resource, you are not into finance, business, or sales, you still need to participate in customer relationship. You need to understand the customer pain, get a first-hand experience, and time and again you need to be coming and getting into it. Look at those data, what is happening and why, because that will give you different perspectives where you will be able to apply towards your own product roadmap. So of course, if you're marketing, then you will be able to sharpen your marketing collaterals. If you're in sales, you'll be able to better arrive at closing sales, because you will be able to better identify and map out who's not your customer and who's your customer and what drives them from their value perception and realization point of view. So, and who else? Yeah, and objection handling. See, uh, this is very important. See, a lot of times, one is that founders invariably, I may be biased, but what I have seen is that many a times they have uh, the founders' customer handling, customer relationship is actually handled by their finance guys, because they are following up on the balance payment. See, it's very sad because if a customer has a problem and instead of resolving the problem, if you're saying, I need the balance payment, it's very unlikely you will get it. Or even if you get it, very unlikely they will come back to you for the renewal or the next product. So you need to resolve those things. You need to be able to handle it, and you should not be putting your finance. And if you are the finance head in your venture, put somebody with a higher empathy onto these functions. So if you have high empathy, you should not be doing many other things, right? But this is something you should be doing. And it may be, some people may try to find fault here because if you are high empathy, you may say that, okay, I'll give you free replacement, which is actually going to create losses. What will you do with that returned product which is already used, or or the lost opportunity, and so many other things. But it is good to have the co-founder who's more high on empathy handles these things, because when you're high on empathy, you are triggered to resolve. I think this is, again, we spoke, right? Briefly, we had a conversation on pricing strategy then. Uh, we spoke about few things: production, competitor, customer perceived value. See, I've today also I've repeated, right, the perceived value. So it's very important that we understand and are clear about who's our customer and what could be their perceived value, because whatever we think, we assume, we also have to back it up with the data itself. So that is what is important here. And then market positioning goals. How do we position our product or offering? Where would we want to position it? Right? This is what we talked about briefly. I think we even talked about some scenarios also on that in terms of, I don't know if we took some examples, but we talked about positioning, I remember. And lastly, see, what happens is that, I remember we talked about this as well, profit margins, because we talked about unit economics. You remember? I even told you about Zomato. I think it was in this session itself, right? Or was it, am I getting confused with some other program I spoke on? Anybody? I Have I been successful in putting you all to sleep, or somebody is with me still? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So it was in the last session we talked about pricing and also about margins, right? In Zomato story also and Zomato listing we spoke about. Or did you say yes to the same thing, or am I just repeating the question? So if you're saying yes, that we have already covered, then do you guys have any questions on this? Should we dive? Okay, I assume no questions. Move forward. So what I can propose is you can also try to put this plan, right? You can look at the launch plan components and you can try to make this and present it also, timeline and key milestones that you require for your own product launch. What are the pre-launch activities and teasers? And these things you will arrive at based on your customer profiling, based on your pricing strategy, based on the way you define your value proposition. So you arrive at this launch plan components based on all those things, what you would have done, and then you arrive at it. So every time, everything you say, you will have to back it up with that. So maybe do that, but you could present this alone so that if required, we can just go back and say, why did you arrive at this? And then launch the execution plan. See, one is we are talking about you doing this for the open house, but irrespective, you should approach it this in this fashion, the GTM plan. So that is the idea of sharing this. So this is the kind of a framework that you need to develop and keep revisiting every time you are, coming up with any product or a solution or a new offering, or you're even trying to take it to a different customer segment. You'll have to do this exercise. And it's also important that, see, a lot of times people plan only till the launch day. You need to have a plan in place for post-launch follow-up before you actually do the event. Because if you don't do it, you lose all the value of this whole thing. So you need to have it. And a bit of scenario mapping is necessary in terms of what could go wrong. And that is where your contingency planning is necessary, right? So you put that together. If you have specific questions, we can talk about it. Do I move forward, or any questions at this point in time? I'm moving forward, assuming you have no questions. So, yeah, thank you. So, see, these are the few things we already talked about customer acquisition cost. It basically, a lot of times I've even heard people say this, mine is not a software product. We have a hardware, so we don't have a CAC, customer acquisition cost. I was like, seriously? See, it's very important. Another thing is, a lot of founders, you don't value your time, particularly at the early stage, right? Every effort you're doing, you need to map it. You need to estimate how much of effort, time you're putting, and you need to even cost it. See, if you don't start costing it, you will not realize how much you're burning. See, at which you may be not taking the salary, whatever you're making, you're spending. If you don't keep an account, you will not know how much you're actually spending. And the moment you start keeping an account of it, believe me, you'll start realizing, is it worth it? Right? So you will start trying to reset your own goal, because you'll start seeing that it's not worth it. If you're not able to scale it up, if you're not able to take it to the next level, it's not worth it. But many people spend. See, I know good people, right? People who have many people. I mean, this is a case just a few days ago. I met. See, I had met them nearly 7, 8 years ago. First time I had met them nearly 10 years ago when I used to run a startup program in IIM Bangalore. So they had come and pitched. It was a husband and wife, and both had nearly 20 years of experience. So they had worked close to 20. I mean, wife had little, maybe 16 years, and husband had about 20, 22 years. Both had worked for multinationals, good companies, good experience, understanding of the whole space, and they were clear about what they are proposing. So when they presented IMB, it was great. And I met them again after 3 years. That's again about 7 years ago. And they were trying to look at ways of pivoting it. They had built some good customer base, but they were largely in the services. So they were wondering, how do we go to the product and all that? And I was busy with some other engagements, and we just happened to bump into each other. They didn't really ask me for my help, but I figured that they were in a situation where they were trying to pivot or figure out how do we move forward. I happened to meet them recently. It's nearly 10 years, and Pranit, I can't make out. You are not talking to me? To me. So,
Sorry for joining in late. I had to drop off another call. Yeah.
not a problem. So, see, great people, great experience. And recently I came across, and then I happened to meet somebody else. I asked, "Are you still in the services space?" They said yes. And there was this opportunity where I thought, in 10 years, there must be close to 100 crore at least, right? They were actually handling $25 million business or something like that, I remember, 10 years ago, as in their professional employment. So when they were entrepreneurs, I thought they have built it up, they must be big enough now. And there was this opportunity. Somebody was asking me for a reference for a international company. They want to engage a Indian company, and they needed at least this size. And I asked them, so qualify, this is the size, and they tell me, no, actually, COVID will suffer. It took really some time for us to come back, and their revenue is less than 1 crore. I was like, great people, great team, great experience, great exposure. So I think if you don't develop a system to keep measuring your performance at a regularity, see, all this is a backstory to why metrics, KPIs, and also iterative optimization of everything you do is necessary. If you don't do, all your competency capability will just become a shadow of what you are. You are, or you are capable of. So this you need to start employing from a very early stage. Be conscious of every aspect of it. So start playing with the scenarios. If you don't have a view to it, it's okay. That's fun as well. So start doing it. So if you want to do that, you can also try and present it, and we can talk about that also in the open house. Conversion rates, funnel stage, and sales cycle length. If you think each of this, what could be it? Start getting into. See, this is where you have to be in that scenario. You have to be there. So if you're just sitting in your room and say that I'll build a code which today AI tools will build better, faster than, it won't work. So you have to go there, understand the business. You have to be looking at it, and then you'll be able to come up with more scenarios. And also the measuring revenue growth, market share at every stage. Because the more you see it, more you'll be pushed to say, what am I not doing right? Right? So that is where you keep doing a regular performance review. You do testing of messaging, A/B testing. You essentially keep checking, try out what works, what doesn't work from a messaging standpoint. See, what happens is most of the times as startups or early stage founders, our immediate access is people around us. So we try to circulate within our circle, and then whatever the message we get back, we think this is how the customer will be, responding to our communication. No, it will not be. See, this is your first circle is always your empathy circle, right? Even if you go to uh, uh, through your first circle and try to reach out to one and a half of your circle, right? Not even the second circle. See, they are not your target audience. So any data you capture, any feedback you capture, it has to be your target customer. But most people do is that they try to reach out within their circle, and then they build on that. It just doesn't help, because you're talking to wrong set of people. They may have good intention for you, but they don't represent the market segment, your target customer segment. So any communication from them is of no consequence. Yeah. competitive response and a continuous strategy in it. So look at this. If you need any of this, I could probably share the deck. Let me know on that. So let's get into. So we have another 45 minutes. Just read it, then we'll questions. We'll take it up. A better still, so you could actually present your GTM strategy from a implementation standpoint, or even you could also make a presentation as why do you think, a lot of times people ask me, what is better, B2B, B2C? It's not about what is better. What makes it better is the more appropriate question, because you need to be looking at who's your customer, what are the influencing aspects, factors, and then you need to arrive at whether it should be B2C or it should be B2B2C. And also many a times what happens is that your own, where you come from also has a bearing on it. And also as a startup, access to capital is less. So you have to look at your first strategy should be with a limited capital, where can you be most impactful and effective? So you don't pick B2B, B2C, because see, some people come up and say, okay, India has so much of market. I have a billion customers here. So this every individual is my customer, or every below the 35-year-old is my customer. So half of India's population is below 35. So half of India is my customer. So we have 600 million, 700 million, whatever today's number is my customer. See, it just doesn't work like that. Point is, if it is so, how do you go about approaching it? See, what is important is where can you get success? See, if the moment you say that everybody is a customer, or it's like, see, I have some movie filmmaker friends. Uh, you know, depending on wherever you are, if you're close to any filmmaker, you have people who tend to say, and also I think some advertisements also say this is a complete family entertainer. 6-year-old to 65-year-old. I mean, it's such a crap, right? Every film, like a product, has a broad customer base and a narrow customer base. See, if a filmmaker is making a film and the producer, as a producer, right? I mean, producer and a director. See, sometimes directors can be having different agendas, but producer will have to rein down, okay, this is my expectation. So if you are targeting the film to be released in theaters, so you need to be very clear that what are the components that gets audience to your movie in the theater, right? What kind of population goes to the theaters, and what kind of theaters, and which locations, what language? There are so many other parameters that come into play. So then, if you're not going to the theater, if you want to take it to an OTT, right, one of these Netflix, Amazon kind of things. So if you're going there, then you need to have, again, there you need, it's important that you target your audience. What kind of audience follow your content, watch your content? So, people say that everybody is my customer. These are the things where most of the time I see them fail. Everybody can be your customer eventually, but at the start, you need to strengthen your customer base. You need to have one segment where you consolidate, and they become your foundation, and then you start building on top. So it's very important that you identify who or which of that customer segment should be your first target, right? And then you consolidate them. And once you consolidate them, then you build on. So you must be familiar with that game, Zynga, right? That you assemble, you keep pulling out those stack of wood or stone. So it's like that, right? It's a balance, how minimum you go, and you keep climbing up while you keep the balance right. So you need to narrow it down, focus on it, and consolidate it. But if you make your base weak, then whatever you try to build on won't be strong enough. So there's no perpetuity to your go-to-market strategy. You need to have a go-to-market strategy, one, at this point in time as I start. And you can take it to the next stage and you can relook at what should be it. I mean, you can start with B2B and then you go eventually, take it to B2B2C, and then you have sufficient purse size, you have money in the bank, because consumer spending demands a lot of branding exercise. So a lot of people say, oh no, I have figured out, I have a way to go viral. I have access to a big star. In fact, there's a friend of mine, he had a product. He managed to get across to one of the star cricket players of those days, some years ago. And he managed to cut a deal that he uses his brand on his bat in the IPL, right? It was in the first few early IPL. They see today you can't go and negotiate with any single player that he will carry that in the IPL. See, those days IPL was also money still, but still they had not uh, they had not come into every individual player does. I think it was the second season or something. He walked in and that batsman did extremely well. So his brand got a lot of visibility because the photos came of him hitting with that bat and his brand visible on the bat and all that. But unfortunately, he had uh, he, see, the visibility was there, but there was no recall, right? It didn't get back into action, right? I mean, people saw it, and see, many a times you get that one spot which is fantastic, but if you don't build a recall, then you lose. And then you also have to be around. You need to have an extended strategy to bring the recall and then cash on it. So don't do things in isolation. You need to have a long-term plan, long-term vision, and say, okay, if I do this, I get here, then I do this. At least you need to have some broad plan. You don't need exact, very definitive plan, but you need a broad plan. You can always tweak it, align it. But if you don't have, then a lot of your early stage efforts gets wasted. So we talked about it broadly, but when it comes down to business to business, you need to look at each of those things once again. So maybe you could probably do this for your own business and make this as a case. So if we move to the consumer side of it, see, a lot of these things are still same. You do the same segment exercise, same analysis, look at the competition, look at the landscape, and what are the brand positioning, value proposition. So every bit of it, you do the similar exercise when it comes to B2B or B2C. But again, what happens is that there are some things which obviously change here from a see, generally B2B will have some approach from a volume point of view, unless you come from a component side of it, where you may still be have to cater to consumers through B2B2C, because they originally buy the product through an OEM, and then as a component you are required to be available. But then it is only about channel. It's not really about branding and positioning. But when you come directly to the consumer, even after B2B to C, and not as a component, but as an OEM, then what happens is that a lot of mapping of your customer behavior is necessary, because you need to keep capturing. Because when you are a component player, you will get your feedback from the OEM. But when you are an OEM, you actually make your own product. Then what happens is that the feedback has to come from the consumer, because the the B2B will not be an OEM there. They are a distribution channel. Obviously, there will be a lot of data coming in which will be useful for you, but you should still capture your direct consumer data as well, even while you are going as a B2B2C, and even that has to get extended when you are directly into B2C as well. So you need to figure out, you need to be always mapping on at every step, how do I get and what do I get and how useful it is. So you got to keep mapping on that. And likewise, pricing, packaging. See, another thing is, while we typically talk about B2B, we talk about supply chain. When supply chain is equally important in B2C, but what happens is packaging is far more important in B2C, because that is part of the customer experience. That is how a customer sees you as a brand, right, or venture. So if what I get in front of me, so that is where, you may have seen that people talk about uh, okay, I'll just give you a quick example. Recently, in one of the businesses I'm involved with, we went and met one of the very large groups where there is a partnership happening between this venture I'm involved with. And I'm also on the board of the company, I went with them because I was also involved in the whole conversation in establishing a partnership and joint venture with it's a $10 billion group, so very large. And this is it's a very small company, but yeah, small, medium-sized company. And now this joint venture will push it to a few thousand crore company. I mean, eventually. So we went there, and we were also supposed to meet their vice chairman, who's obviously a billionaire. So so this founder had taken a gift, which was a painting. So he'd got it wrapped from an artist itself. It was so he'd got it in a frame. See, that's where I was telling him. He showed me, but then that artist had wrapped that frame around with some very nice wrapping, which basically gives a lot of cushioning. That was a nice part of it, but the frame was extremely ordinary. So that's where I was telling him that, it's better you give anything you give. The value of the painting, people will estimate a value based on the frame. It is very unfortunate, but that's how we are. Right? People say looks don't matter. They're bullshitting. Looks always matter. Right? It is, most times it's the first impression, right? You see it first. So if you look at it, why is that presentation so important? Because looks matter. The first impression matters. So the ordinary frame reduces the value of the painting itself. So how you package, so you need to pay a lot of attention. See, the other day I went to another very specialty bakery. Uh, they were making New York cheesecake, very tasty. I have a sweet tooth. I just loved it. I brought it home. I got to know about them through an Instagram ad. It was very creatively made. The founder had made. I thought it was nice. And I was just passing by. I thought, okay, let me just pick it up. I got it home, tasted everything fine. See, it was very expensive, artisanal, nice. The advertisement was honest, good, authentic, good. Packaging, disaster. There's no brand, there's no branding, there's no recall. Now, for me to tell you, I actually don't remember the name of the brand. I'd seen that, I was passing by, hey, this looks like it. So I went, I picked it up. The packaging has no brand, and packaging was very ordinary. So, it's very important, particularly when you're catering to consumer, and also always remember that that whatever you sell, whatever you give, packaging can raise the bar, right? Packaging itself will give them, because a lot of people love that. What made it nice is that Vice Chairman, uh, so he said, shall I remove it? I said, no, no, at least just give it as it is, because the frame was so ordinary, and unpacking. The unpacking was such a good experience, right? Only problem is after you do that elaborate unpacking, the expectations drop because you see a very ordinary. So next level is that packaging has to be good, but at the same time, packaging can't be extraordinary that it undermines your very product itself. So you have to pay attention to a lot of details, and this is where uh, a you must be familiar with design thinking. That sense of approach is necessary here. I think we've spoken in different contexts, same thing. So when you start applying it for yourself, I think we will have more questions to handle. Half an hour. Let's get to. Okay, how many of you are familiar with? I think we did talk about what is tokenized, right? To give a brief on that, because I see that more and more of the world will go for that. So it's matter of time. Of course, India is not yet ready for it. Or rather, Indian government is still sitting on the fence over it, but it's matter of time. So any questions on this?
Um, One query will be, at what stages do you think compliances and regulatory items need to be, we need to start with, right? I know it's
Okay.
a query
Okay.
for later, but yeah.
See, no matter what business you do, you need to be aware of what is the compliance uh, landscape look like, right? I mean, at a basic level, what is the GST applicable? What are the taxation applicable? And how can you do the invoicing? And you need to, I mean, if you're invoicing, you do a tax deduction, you need to be filing it. You do the GST, you file the GST, period. See, a lot of times, I know so many cases where, in fact, previously there were companies from the startup ecosystems used to fund money. I remember somebody got 75 lakhs, and they 5 lakhs to pay 45 lakhs of pending GST, right? And after that, everybody started, no, we will not be paying further old liabilities. Technically, it's an old liability, right? You need to plan your, uh, your tax payments and all that right in upfront. So you also lose out funding, because if you are not compliant in that sense, you will not even get funding. So you have to be very cognizant, and very start itself, you need to be compliant. And also, uh, see, no disrespect to CAs, but it's very important that you try CAs who are more business friendly, right? The reason I'm telling you is that, see, CAs, they become, they start looking at themselves as the compliance officer, right? You go to them and they tell you 10 things why you can't do. So you need to push back and say, listen, I'm here for you to tell me that how I can do and I still be compliant. So if I can't do, how do I still get this outcome and you find me compliant and I still be able to move forward. So this is what I mean by trying to find business friendly CAs and company secretaries so that they keep you up to date with the compliance while also find you ways to keep moving forward. Because a lot of them I meet, I try to understand what is the CA, how does that work, how are they working, and so often I tell them that please change your CA. But problem is it's very difficult. It's not easy to change your spouse or a girlfriend, but very difficult to change your CA. So they say that, okay, I'll go through it for this year, next year I change. It's very difficult for you. You've lost so much of opportunity. So you need to be very, very cautious in who you're signing up as your CA. And it's okay, you talk to them, you observe them, right? I mean, see, my take is that every business relationship should be like an arranged marriage. You got to check them out completely. How do they operate? How responsive are they? You know, one other business, uh, we're talking about raising 1,000+ crore credit line, right? It's huge. And that financial institution is asking some clarification, and eventually they say that, you know what, why don't you give me your CS number? I'll talk to the CA. And you know what the founder, he called the CA, he's not answering. He calls his office. In the office, his team tells him that he had gone for some vacation and he got back very late in the night, so he's not available. He can be available on Monday next. So he's taken off for 3 days. He's not giving somebody else who's able to respond to it. And do you think, I mean, of course, whatever we did to manage that part, but these are the kind of people you have to deal with. Then, you know, itself is stressful. So compliance, you need to find really right person, right company who are responsive and respond to you when you need, not when they are good to do. And having said that, you know, in a tokenized economy, see, tokenization in India is in an early stage company. This is a space where it is neither legal nor illegal. So how does that work? What happens to compliance? See, at the start, every business will not have compliance in place. Always compliance at the early stage follows business. So business gets done, compliance follows, right? And once the business gets into mainstream, then a compliance system gets made, and then the business follows the compliance. You're getting what I'm saying, right? So,
Yes.
yeah, and there are cases like Uber. See, when Uber came to India, was Uber legal or illegal? At least give me thumb legal, thumbs down for illegal. Come on, just thumbs up, thumbs down. It was legal. One is saying legal, okay? Rest. No other thought? Everybody think it was legal? Well, it was actually illegal in India. See, for you to operate a taxi, you needed not only driving license, you needed a license to be a taxi. So it required a special process to acquire that status. So when Uber started here, it was completely illegal. Unlike Amazon started here, it was neither legal nor illegal. So Amazon started, Flipkart. So they all were doing big business, and then the rules came in. In Uber's case, the rules came and made that Uber legal. And in Amazon and Flipkart case, rules came which didn't exist. So technically they were not illegal, but neither they were legal. So they were okay to do business. See, that's how every new model gets started, right? What you have to worry about is it illegal? It's not illegal, get started. But be flexible enough to change, adopt, and figure out what happens in a worst case scenario where government makes it illegal. What happened with Amazon and Flipkart? Instant reaction was Amazon made some changes and operated. Immediate reaction from Flipkart was they plucked themselves out of India and became a Singapore company. And then they took time to change their thing. And then they again came back and became legal. So, you can choose to react in whichever way. You need to have some idea of how will you react. But that is when you're starting as a not legal. It's not illegal, but also not legal. Then you need to be prepared that when you're not legal and if government comes and makes you illegal, then how do you react? But if you need to really have money, if you want to be coming into doing something which is actually essentially illegal. Any of you want to give me a name other than Uber, which actually got started illegal and became legal in India? Telegram, no, Telegram was not illegal to start. It was not in the illegal space. Okay, I'll give you a hint. It was an Indian company. Yeah, well, Rapido was again similar, more similar to the bike ride, right? Bike ride was not illegal, not legal. No, same with Ola. See, Ola came in and got started much after Uber, right? By the time Ola came in, it had already become legal. So Ola didn't have to go through that because Uber had set the path for them. But yeah, Rapido was the Amazon case. It was not illegal. So technically they did. But I'm talking about something which was illegal, like Uber, and then got legalized, and that was Reliance. So Reliance, Reels, and TikTok, well, again, they were not illegal. They were not illegal. In fact, Reels continues, right? TikTok was not really illegal in India, so to speak. It got banned more for political reasons, geopolitical reasons, right? It was Chinese essentially, so that was the reason. So it was nothing illegal about it. Of course, there were a lot of other narratives around it. That data goes to China, but honestly, uh, every system's taking their data to their own country, right? Google is taking all the India data to America. Microsoft is taking all the India data to America. So the point is, our convenience, whom do we want to? Well, PUBG was a different case. PUBG challenge was less about data and became illegal because I think there were multiple cases of children committing suicide. So it was a entirely different case. So it was not really the illegal part. See, Rummy technically is still not illegal in India. See, this online betting game, right? See, we in India, we are a country of contradictions. See, I live in Bangalore. I'm sure many of your place, wherever you live, you also have race courses, right? We have horse racing. Blatantly betting happens. There is directly taxed. Government is taking money out of it. And in our country, betting is illegal. And then betting happens openly. And not just that, it actually happens at the cost of horses, right? I mean, we are a country of contradiction. Let me not make more political statements around it. So, yeah. So Rummy and many of these online betting businesses, what's happening is that they're all registered outside. They're marketed here. And they are allowed. I mean, it's a complicated thing, right? how they are done. So if you are able to do either the rummy or any of those online betting games, or what is presently illegal, but you eventually get them to become legal, like what Reliance or what Uber did, you need to have deep pockets. Like Uber was multi-billion dollar, right? I think when they were 20 at the peak, they were $45 billion company. So when they came to India, they could just burn 1 billion and still be huge. So they were big enough to try and do lobbying. Of course, even despite that, there are states where Uber is still illegal. At least I know in Goa there is no Uber. So you still have. I mean, states can still decide, right? As much as India is not like US, we still have some element of federal system here. There are few things which state governments have a say and way they can do, and differently uh, uh, from whatever even say the central government may approve of. So one other thing on the uh, compliance part I was telling you is that yeah, what Reliance did was that Reliance went completely on the illegal, but then they actually went back and they were pulled up by court. There was a court order that it was illegal, and then they presented the case saying that there is so much of customers they have already secured. There is public equity involved in it now. So if government bans it, renders it illegal, which it was already illegal, but these people still chose to go about it. So they could muscle in a change in policy because they had that money, right? So either you need, not either, you need to have money if you choose to go. What about Geo then? Uh, what about it? See, as of now, I don't think Geo is doing anything illegal, as much as I understand. Of course, Geo has launched its own token. See, technically in India, token is not illegal. Any cryptocurrency is not illegal, right? Uh, in all fairness, it is actually legal. Only thing is what Government of India defines is that any digital asset to be an instrument of investment only. So the day Geo distributes the token and brings in an element of forex, is it? No, forex is not illegal. Forex is what? Basically foreign exchange. How is it illegal? Uh, so the day they bring in utility value, as in like it is same as carrying a rupee or a dollar, then it is illegal, because what Government of India says is your every rupee or dollar, every rupee you have invested in digital asset is okay as an asset. The moment you cash it, that is, you convert it back to a fiat, which is rupee, then you are liable to pay 30% tax. So by instituting that, they are taking away this convertibility aspect. So if I have to use the digital asset to buy something, first of all, directly I can't do it. By allowing it, I'll be doing it illegally. But then if I convert it back to rupee, my 100 rupee becomes 70 rupees. I already lose 30 rupees. So why would I do that to engage a transaction unless I'm desperate? So unfortunately, this is how in India this space is restrained. But Geo has gone on to make issue tokens get into the tokenized play, because I think they also see that India is going to change, and by the time the policy comes in, they're already well placed about it. So they're smart. So they're not going in the illegal way, because if they do that, it can hurt them very badly because they are not yet listed. Whereas what they did previously was it was under the listed company. So that's where there was not just the equity of the customer, there was also, since publicly listed company, there was a public holding on it. So any damage to that business would hurt the common man as a customer and also the shareholder, who are again citizens of the country. So it was a smart play there. Of course, money, what could sail them through? If you don't have money, it'll destroy. So this is where I don't know. I gave you a long answer. I hope I answered your question on regulatory thing. Was that okay? 5:48, 10 more
Yes,
minutes. Sorry.
thank you. So I think, yeah, though long, I think it was informative and covered a good amount of the actual on-ground technicalities. Yeah, thank you.
Any other question? Okay. Right. So you have any question? We have 10 minutes, so please feel free to ask. So in the open house, my suggestion is just see what kind of a business model try to put a business model together, try to go about it in the framework what we discussed now. Look at each of the aspects. If you have challenge in approaching it for your particular business, keep that note, maybe we can discuss that. Or you want to try it out, why not scenarios you want to bring and discuss, we can discuss that. So make the open house more about your business so that let's hope that we will be able to create some specific value out of this engagement. Otherwise, I'm just talking to a screen.
Good evening, sir.
Yep. Good
Sorry,
evening.
sir. I was actually traveling. If I would had on my mic, there would had lot of disturbance. So I just remained quiet during the interaction times also.
Not a
Sir,
problem.
yes, sir. So what I thought was we were implementing this thing, sir. We were trying to build a machine. For
Okay.
that, we are trying to do the bootstrapping itself, sir. For that, sir, what I thought was the best thing I can do is listen to people and charge them for my time and their time, sir. So only targeting the premium category of people. That's basically how I can fish them is through by LinkedIn or some uh, uh, social media, basically marketing. First, giving out informative posts about how sharing about your some health or something professional or personal on a level to someone who can listen to you, not reply, can what to say, add a benefit to your mental health. So afterwards, if I can catch a good amount of audience, then I can charge them based on a Google Meet 30-minute session or somewhat, sir.
Interesting, but just the choice of what you said, fish. Other day I was watching a movie where someone says there are two characters in the scene where one says that, oh, there's so much of things to do and this is crazy, I hate it. And the other person says, I thought you like fishing. And he says, yeah, I like fishing, but this is about going through so much of digging so much endlessly. So, and the other character says, see, fishing is more about sending the hook and waiting. So it is not about catching, but waiting. So, so, in your case, probably you want to be putting a net to catch than put a hook and wait. But it's not a bad strategy either if you want to put a hook and wait. But only thing is you need to have patience. And the other side of it, yeah, makes sense. But see, I think there's always a market for consulting. I mean, this is a more of a consulting approach, what you're looking at to monetize. There's always a market for consulting, but then what is necessary is that you need to indulge in creating some amount of uh, branding for yourself to position yourself as somebody who knows or who's an authority on that so that it becomes easy. So you need to be giving out things, messaging that keeps suggesting that you know something more than somebody else. So if you want to be going about it in this route, then you need to start working towards building that.
Oh, sir, does that cause any like? Do we need any such license, sir, for just to listen? Do we need any as such government official? Um,
No, you need license as long as you say you are a therapist, right? Let's say if you say you're a therapist, you need to be a licensed therapist. I think in India, people practice even medicine without license, but it's a day they get caught. So my suggestion is don't do anything that demands a license. But see, you actually have online courses, so you can pretty much do some online courses, some certification courses, right? You can do even from some of the Ivy League courses online, And that helps you to say that you have done this course from this university, right? One of the Ivy League courses in US or whatever. So that adds to your credentials and credibility.
Ivy League courses.
Sorry?
Yes,
Ivy
sir.
League. Okay, Ivy as in, like Harvard or Stanford or something like that. MIT. See, all of them have courses online.
Uh-huh.
So you can do a course online.
Mm-hmm.
So many of them offer their content, course material free of cost. So that you can actually use it to develop your own course methodology and say that it is similar what is done in MIT or something. And then you do a paid, if you want a certificate, you'll have to pay them. I think there are a few direct and there are a few online platforms offer you that. So you do a certificate course, you get a certificate, then it becomes much easier for you to say that you are certified by your Stanford, Harvard, or something like that, one of those big league universities globally.
Oh, yes, sir. Sir, and one thing, thank you so much for that insight. You remember I was asking you regarding the tailors in Mysore. Like there are 10 to 15
Luman,
members.
yeah, I think you look different with your mustache and all that, yeah. Uh,
Uh, I,
yeah, what
yes,
about it?
yes, sir. You gave me one work to do. Like, what is their expectation of day to day, and how is there a complete dependency of this type of tailoring business itself? So, sir, when I spoke with Gayatri ma'am also regarding this, she told be careful of such things. The main thing is they are all individuals, not a self-help group. What happens is when you assign and you get a contract for some 100 pieces and you take the advance and all, these people come at some point of time and they give reasons like because of my progeny's schoolwork or some other marriage function I wasn't able to do, and so for that reason I gave a pause, sir.
Yeah, fair enough. See, ideally, you don't indulge anything in big chunk till you have a reliable supply chain. So what Gayatri said is very right. I mean, it comes from her experience as well. She's worked in this field for long. So, but don't look at taking up big orders without you having a very reliable set of people whom you have worked with. So build it up with small numbers and then go for bigger numbers.
Yes, sir. Sir, and one thing is, in Tumkur Innovation, there is one event happening on September 13th and 14th.
I don't know. No,
Okay, sir, like that day you visited Satish sir in Bangalore, NIFT College.
I remember.
Sir, he asked, sir, for that I wanted to ask you majorly, sir. If you could give me just a second, sir.
Well, Prithvi, you had raised your hand. Anything you want to talk?
Um, can I continue, sir?
1 second. Prithvi had raised his hand.
Uh, Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Sir, actually, I had a question that you mentioned the go-to-market strategies, right? How they are important when you're building something.
Yeah.
So, like, on my perspective, like, yeah, go-to-market strategy is important, but there are few companies like Tesla who don't ever market. Elon Musk says that your product has to be that 100% perfect that you don't need. So, between these two things, like, with your experience, what is right? I mean, yeah, everything's right on its plate, but for some beginner to go, what value should we take from it?
Well, Prithvi, number one, the day you become Elon Musk, you can do that because see, for him, one tweet will make a absolute nothing token to a $1 billion project, right? One tweet. He just tweeted Dogecoin, and Dogecoin just became a multi-billion-dollar position, right? So see, he has that kind of an influence. So when you become like that, then you can define the way you go to market. But till you are that, it's better to follow a structured framework for go to market.
Sure, sir. But
See,
if
he's a brand himself, right?
okay,
So he could play that, right? And like I said, right, if you are a brand or if you are big like Reliance or big like Uber with a lot of money, you can even do something which is very clearly illegal in the system and then convert it to legal. But you need to be so big. But otherwise, if you are at early stage, you're starting off, better look at what are the legal frameworks, stay within that. And if it is not legal, make sure it is not illegal also.
Okay, sir. Sure, sir. Thank you, sir.
Sir,
Yeah, Roman.
sir,
Yeah.
for that he has there are 5 stalls, sir, around 5 to 7 stalls, I guess. For that they are not offering us any money, sir, and they have asked us for the partition walls, so that we can design the walls using the sustainable waste, sir, like such that this cloth. I hope you can see.
Yeah.
Sir,
Maybe we can. Yeah.
sir, with zero money, sir, I really don't know whether we need to take up this or not, sir. There are like around 200 delegates coming onto that event. So one thing is we can have our name displayed, but don't know how it will is gonna helpful in the future, sir.
Well, it depends. Do you want to be doing this, pursuing this in future?
Absolutely, sir. But as a student, we don't have any income, sir. No, as you
But
know,
will you make any losses?
absolutely, sir. And loss, no, it will be an investment, sir. Loss, I don't know, sir.
No, just check. See, my take is even if you don't earn any profit, if you're not losing any money and you're getting the visibility, and this is something you want to pursue in the long run, then it's a great podium. At least you don't lose anything. You don't have to pay to get the visibility, right? You can say that your profit is what you're paying to get the visibility and you're not losing any money, then you should do it.
Mm, Sir, we need 3 parts to pay, sir. One is to get the raw materials from the waste, we need to pay them. Next, for
That
the
you ask them only. That's where I'm saying if you're not losing money. So if there is a cost, you just ask them to cover the cost. Tell them you don't want to make money, but you will make, let them facilitate the whole thing for you.
okay. Yes, sir. Sir, that part only they are saying everything you take care. We just want the product. We will display your name.
Then you try, give it a try. At least go to the supplier side and say that you come in, I will share the branding with you. Showcase it as a community project,
Uh-huh.
right? Or go to the local corporator. No, there is no corporator, right, in Bangalore. Which place is this? Tumkur. Tumkur has corporation or municipality.
Sir, I have no idea, sir. I come from, uh, I
No, or
do.
wherever you are sourcing from, or go to that local MLA wherever you are sourcing from. They will
Mhm,
have some funds. Ask them to contribute to it. So use that money to pay them. Tell them, don't give me the money, give them the money. They will only give this product supply.
mhm,
Say that you are creating a livelihood for them. So you stitch livelihood to all the 3 different components where your bills will come from, where you have to spend.
mhm.
Get them to give that visibility. I mean, give the visibility to the politician that he is giving or she is giving that money, and they are getting their livelihood thing. And you stitch that and you use this. See, sometimes when you don't have money, you'll have to see somebody has money and they'll need something else.
Got
So
it,
you
sir.
have to be a little creative to see who has the money, who wants visibility, and how do you get that out for your purpose.
Yes, sir. Sir, this part our team didn't think, sir. So thank you for this much, sir. We will go and approach the MLS of the Raja Rajeshwari Nagar. Let me see what the outcomes come or not.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
But be clear what a proposition you're giving, how many people's livelihood, that story you have it clear so that how the whole thing, you need to give them a big picture.
Yes, sir, definitely.
And also see if you talk to your Tumkur guys, or ideally Tumkur, if you are getting some Tumkur MLA is giving you money, it still becomes easy because they will also need a podium. They will also need a stage where they've given the money and that product is used everywhere, right? Something for them to show that this is.
Yes, sir.
So just see how you stitch those things, what kind of a visibility you give.
Got it, sir. Thank you so much, sir. We'll work on this and we'll get in touch with you.
Anytime.
Thank you, sir.
No other question? So that's it then.
Thank you so much for participating, guys. Yeah, and do not forget to miss the open house. So, like, yeah, to discuss your ideas. Answer, do we have a task for the open house, or is it like just an open-ended discussion for everyone?
Yeah, I ideally come with a your own GTM plan to present so that we can actually discuss if your approach is good or how, if we at least we can see. Maybe I may be able to give you some input on how to strengthen it further, or look at it whether the approach is good or if you can change it to something else. Maybe we can just
So,
discuss whatever it is.
yeah, guys, the task is as assigned. Please prepare a GMT. Like, please make a GMT about your idea. Try to go with different approaches. And yeah, like let's connect in the open house. And yeah, based on today's topic, there will be a quiz after the session on the open house day. Yeah, so thank you so much. Looking forward to you guys. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Thank you so much, sir. Bye, everyone.